As our nation watched, we were all reminded on a daily basis of the importance of each and every vote. We were reminded of the strength of our democracy, that while our system is not always perfect, it is fundamentally strong and far better than any other alternative. The election was close, but tonight, after a count, a recount, and yet another manual recount, Secretary Cheney and I are honored and humbled to have won the state of Florida, which gives us the needed electoral votes to win the election.
It appears that there is more and more fire and smoke enveloping the very top of the building, and as fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet.
But those towers, like buildings like the Empire State Building, they say New York, and they say also New York's financial dominance and America's financial dominance.
Today we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
And the Pentagon is being evacuated. There is a large fire there, and that is the smoke you see in the shot that you are looking at now.
Good afternoon. On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. These carefully targeted actions are designed to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operations and to attack the military capability of the Taliban regime.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know.
On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
Today, the president signed a big new anti-terrorism bill that would expand the government's ability to track down terrorists, but at some cost.
And I'm very, very worried about the invasion of privacy rights that we're seeing not only from the NSA and the government, but from corporate America as well. We're losing our privacy rights. It's a huge issue.
Good morning and welcome to the White House. Today we take an essential step in defeating terrorism while protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans. With my signature, this law will give intelligence and law enforcement officials important new tools to fight a present danger.
The ACLU filed suit today claiming that federal phone surveillance goes far beyond the limits of the Patriot Act.
Snowden says he released details about how the U.S. government monitors private citizens' phone records because he believes the practice is a threat to democracy.
No matter what the cost, you have to stand up. This is called the pendulum.
I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders who claim to be listening. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases the need for the fight, like a moment of blindness and a lifetime of sight. And I am caught somewhere in the middle. I saw a president blind to the needs of his people. Saw a camel that passed through the eye of a needle. Saw a group of old men whose money was evil. Saw a cross breaking free from the cage of a steeple. Saw beggars and cripples dying in squalor. A son whose sins had exceeded his father. Saw a nation of sleepers whose dreams were forgotten, and a bushel of apples from a tree that was rotten. was arrested and beaten, and the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases, the weight and the height. But if nobody's listed, is anyone right? And I can't seem to find the key to the riddle. I met a young woman with a baby inside her. I looked, but there wasn't a safe place to hide her. I met an old man with a face like a mirror. He showed me his sadness so I could see clearer. I met an arrogant leader who robs us and cheats us, pretends that his orders come directly from Jesus. When he sends out our children to strange foreign soil, to kill for the right to monopolize oil. I'm raising my voice against the house of derision that murders our freedom with short-sighted vision. I'll sing a new song about civilization and the palace of wisdom and the death of a nation. I lift up the veil that's hiding the holy. Remind all the people that change happens slowly. I scream out a name to the echoes of heaven. I pray that the world don't end up where it's heading. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum decreases, the end is in sight. There's a lunatic handling our future tonight, and I am lost somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the middle.
Well, the power structure basically is made up of a lot of very powerful business and corporate leaders in the country. And in particular, they have formed their organizations. They've been around for a good while, and they don't even hide it anymore. You know, the Trilateral Commission, as well as the Council of Foreign Relations. No matter what, which president, which party is in power, they will appoint to the major offices members of these two committees. And they always have control of the Federal Reserve System. So the Wall Streeters, the big bankers, have inside information as far as what is happening and what's going on.
I'll leave Congress after 23 years in office over a 36-year period. My goals in 1976 were the same as they are today: promote peace and prosperity by a strict adherence to the principles of individual liberty. It was my opinion that the course of the U.S. embarked on in the latter part of the 20th century would bring us a major financial crisis and engulf us in a foreign policy that would overextend us and undermine our national security. To achieve these goals, I thought the government would have had to shrink in size and scope, reduce spending, change the monetary system, and reject the unsustainable costs of policing the world and expanding the American empire.
I've spoken out about it, you know, about the policies in the Middle East and the wars going on and the military-industrial complex.
I think the Patriot Act is unpatriotic because it undermines our liberty. I'm concerned, as everybody is, about the terrorist attack.
Beating the war drums to go to war against Iraq. And it was all a facade. There was no danger from Iraq.
And control over money is pretty significant, because if you can control money, you're really controlling 1/2 of every single transaction. So that is a tremendous amount of power.